Exodus chapter 1. And these are the names of the children of Israel, who came to Mitzrayim with Yaakov, each one with his household: Reuven, Shimon, Levi, and Yehuda; Yissachar, Zebulun, and Binyamin; Dan and Naphtali, Gad and Asher. And all those who were descendants of Yaakov were 70 beings, as Joseph was already in Mitzrayim. And Joseph died, and all his brothers, and all that generation. And the children of Israel bore fruit, and increased very much, multiplied, and became very strong, and the land was filled with them. Then a new sovereign arose over Mitzrayim, who did not know Joseph. And he said to his people, "See, the people of the children of Israel are more and stronger than we. Come, let us act wisely towards them, lest they increase. And it shall be, when fighting befalls us, that they shall join our enemies and fight against us, and shall go up out of the land." So they appointed slave masters over them to afflict them with their burdens, and they built for Pharaoh supply cities, Pithom and Raamses. But the more they afflicted them, the more they increased and grew, and they were in dread of the children of Israel. And the Mitzrites made the children of Israel serve with harshness, and they made their lives bitter with hard bondage in mortar and in brick, and in all kinds of work in the field. All their work which they made them do was with harshness. Then the sovereign of Mitzrayim spoke to the Ivri midwives, of whom the name of one was Sifra, and the name of the other Puah. And he said, "When you deliver the Ivri woman, and see them on the birth stools, if it is a son, then you shall put him to death. But if it is a daughter, then she shall live." But the midwives revered Elohim, and did not do as the sovereign of Mitzrayim commanded them, and kept the male children alive. So the sovereign of Mitzrayim called for the midwives and said to them, "Why have you done this, and kept the male children alive?" And the midwives said to Pharaoh, "Because the Ivri women are not like the Mitzrite women, for they are lively and give birth before the midwives come to them." So Elohim was good to the midwives, and the people increased and became very numerous. And it came to be, because the midwives revered Elohim, that he provided households for them. And Pharaoh commanded all his people, saying, "Throw every son who is born into the river, and keep alive every daughter." Chapter 2. And a man of the house of Levi went and married a daughter of Levi. And the woman conceived and bore a son, and she saw that he was a lovely child, and she hid him 3 months. And when she could hide him no longer, she took an ark of papyrus for him, and coated it with tar and pitch, and put the child in it, and laid it in the reeds by the edge of the river. And his sister stood at a distance to know what would be done to him. And the daughter of Pharaoh came down to wash herself at the river, and her young women were walking by the riverside. And when she saw the ark among the reeds, she sent her female servant to get it, and opened it, and saw the child, and see, the child wept. So she had compassion on him, and said, "This is one of the children of the Ivrim." And his sister said to Pharaoh's daughter, Shall I go and call a nurse for you from the Hebrew woman to nurse the child for you? And Pharaoh's daughter said to her, Go. And the girl went and called the child's mother. And Pharaoh's daughter said to her, Take this child away and nurse him for me, then I shall pay your wages. So the woman took the child and nursed him. And the child grew, and she brought him to Pharaoh's daughter, and he became her son. And she called his name Moshe, saying, Because I have drawn him out of the water. And in those days it came to be, when Moshe was grown, that he went out to his brothers and looked at their burdens. And he saw a Mizraite beating an Ivri, one of his brothers. So he turned this way and that way, and when he saw no one, he smote the Mizraite and hid him in the sand. And he went out the second day and saw two Ivrim fighting. And he said to the one who did the wrong, Why do you smite your neighbor? And he said, Who made you a head and a judge over us? Do you intend to slay me as you slew the Mizraite? And Moshe feared and said, Truly the matter is known. And Pharaoh heard of this matter, and he sought to kill Moshe. But Moshe fled from the face of Pharaoh and dwelt in the land of Midian, and he sat down by a well. And the Kohen of Midian had 7 daughters, and they came and drew water, and they filled the troughs to water their father's flock. But the shepherds came and drove them away. Then Moshe stood up and came to their rescue and watered their flock. And they came to Reuel, their father, and said, How is it that you have come so soon today? And they said, A Mizraite rescued us from the hand of the shepherds, and he also drew enough water for us and watered the flock. And he said to his daughters, And where is he? Why did you leave the man? Call him and let him eat bread. And Moshe agreed to dwell with the man, and he gave Zipporah, his daughter, to Moshe. And she bore him a son, and he called his name Gershom, for he said, I have become a sojourner in a foreign land. And it came to be after these many days that the sovereign of Mitzrayim died, and the children of Israel groaned because of the slavery, and they cried out. And the cry came up to Elohim because of the slavery. And Elohim heard their groaning, and Elohim remembered his covenant with Abraham, with Yitzchak, and with Yaakov. And Elohim looked on the children of Israel, and Elohim knew. Chapter 3. And Moshe was shepherding the flock of Yithro, his father-in-law, the Kohen of Midian. And he led the flock to the back of the wilderness and came to Korev, the mountain of Elohim. And the messenger of Yahweh appeared to him in a flame of fire from the midst of a bush. And he looked and saw the bush burning with fire, but the bush was not consumed. And Moshe said, Let me turn aside now and see this great sight, why the bush does not burn. And Yahweh saw that he turned aside to see, and Elohim called to him from the midst of the bush and said, Moshe, Moshe. And he said, Here I am. And he said, Do not come near here. Take your sandals off your feet, for the place on which you are standing is Kodesh ground. And he said, I am the Elohim of your father, the Elohim of Abraham, the Elohim of Yitzchak, and the Elohim of Yaakov. And Moshe hid his face, for he was afraid to look at Elohim. And Yahweh said, I have indeed seen the oppression of my people who are in Mitzrayim, and have heard their cry because of their slave drivers, for I know their sorrows. And I have come down to deliver them from the hand of the Mithrites, and to bring them up from that land to a good and spacious land, to a land flowing with milk and honey, and